The wind howled across the jagged peaks of the Himalayas, carrying with it the icy bite of the coming storm. My breath rose in shaky clouds, mingling with the mist as we trudged higher into the desolate white wilderness. We had set out with one goal: to prove the existence of the Yeti. What had started as an expedition filled with camaraderie and scientific curiosity had slowly shifted into something darker, more ominous. I was the oldest in the group, a seasoned climber, but even I hadn't prepared for the weight of isolation that pressed down on us. The sheer silence of the mountains was unnerving. No birds, no animals, just the wind whispering strange things in my ears. We arrived at a plateau just before dusk, and we decided to set up camp. The snow crunched under our boots as we hammered the spikes into the frozen ground, our breaths shallow and quick from the altitude. A heavy fog rolled in, swallowing the distant peaks and leaving us feeling like we were the only living souls left on Earth. "Jack, over here." Evan's voice pulled me from my thoughts. He was holding something, a massive footprint embedded deep in the snow. Its size sent a shiver down my spine, larger than any bear or animal we had ever encountered. My heart pounded as I crouched beside him, my gloved hand tracing the edge of the print. "Could be a hoax," I muttered, though I didn't believe it. Something about the depth, the weight it suggested, felt real. Evan and the others were excited, buzzing with theories. But as night fell, an oppressive silence settled over the camp. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us, something ancient, something that knew these mountains better than we did. The wind picked up again, screaming through the gaps in the rocks. Our tents flapped violently, and I could hear the others talking nervously in muffled tones. I sat in my own tent, staring at the flickering shadows cast by my lantern. The walls of the tent felt too thin, too fragile against the world outside. Then it started. A low, guttural growl echoed through the air, faint but unmistakable. I froze, every hair on my body standing on end. For a moment I convinced myself it was the wind playing tricks on me, but then it came again. Louder this time, closer. I unzipped my tent, poking my head out. The mist was thick, swirling in unpredictable patterns. I could barely see a few feet in front of me. I called out to Evan, but my voice seemed to be swallowed by the fog. Nothing but the endless groan of the wind answered me. I was about to retreat into my tent when I saw it. A dark shape moving just at the edge of the mist, large and hulking. My breath caught in my throat. It moved too quickly to be any of us, and it was far too large. I blinked, and it was gone. I scrambled back into the tent, heart racing. My hands shook as I grabbed my flashlight and clutched it tightly, waiting for the others to say something. But the camp was eerily quiet, save for the flapping of the tents in the wind. No one else seemed to have seen it. The next few hours dragged on, and though I tried to sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was stalking us. At some point, I must have drifted off, because when I woke, the lantern was out, and the camp had fallen into complete silence. It wasn't until morning that we realized someone was missing. "Where the hell is Evan?" Leo's voice cracked with panic as we searched the camp, but there was no sign of him. His tent had been torn open from the outside, and the tracks, those same massive footprints, led away from the camp into the mist-covered hills. I wanted to go after him, but a deep sense of dread kept me rooted in place. It felt like we had trespassed, disturbed something that had lain dormant for too long. We were not welcome here. By midday, we decided to move further up the mountain, hoping to find Evan, or at least more answers. As we climbed, the weather worsened, snow falling in thick sheets that made it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. But the tracks continued, winding their way up into the peaks. Every now and then I saw glimpses of movement in the distance, fleeting shadows in the corner of my vision, shapes that disappeared the moment I turned to look. The others didn't mention it, but I could see the fear growing in their eyes. They had seen it too. As night fell again, we found shelter in a shallow cave. The wind outside screamed like a banshee, and inside the cold was suffocating. We huddled together, barely speaking, each of us lost in our own thoughts. I tried to tell myself that Evan was still out there, alive, but deep down, I knew the truth. That night, the sounds returned, the growls, the scratching at the cave entrance. But this time, they were accompanied by something worse. Heavy footsteps, thudding against the snow-covered ground, growing closer and closer. We sat in terrified silence, too afraid to move. Suddenly, a massive shadow darkened the cave entrance. My heart stopped as a pair of glowing eyes peered in, reflecting the faint light of our dying fire. The creature's breath came in ragged gasps, filling the cave with a rancid, animalistic stench. We had found the Yeti, or rather, it had found us. With a roar that shook the very walls of the cave, it charged. We scattered, each of us fighting to escape the inevitable. As I scrambled toward the back of the cave, I knew there was no running from this. We had disturbed something that should have been left alone. In the chaos, I lost sight of the others. The last thing I remember is the creature's roar echoing in my ears, followed by the crushing weight of darkness as it descended upon me. I don't know if anyone else survived, but now, as I lay here battered and broken in the snow, waiting for the end, I can hear it moving through the storm. It's still out there, and it's coming back for me. Thanks for joining us in the shadows tonight. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories every week. Have you got a story of your own? Share it in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And remember, the darkness holds many secrets. Are you brave enough to uncover them? Until next time, keep your lights on and your doors locked. Sweet nightmares.